Due to the dodgy nature of internet connections here, we're running a set of slides which are slightly more reliable. And we hope that each of the topics will be of some use to you at club administration. So I've added on a little bit onto the title, saving time. We're hoping that we can save you time or make life less tedious. There's enough demands on your time. So quick cap of what we want to do tonight. The topics we want to take a look at is organizing email using rules. This is an automated process. We'll take a look at how it might reduce the sheer bulk of email you get in and maybe handle it automatically for you. We'll take a look at mail merge. Well, most people imagine this is really for letters. It can be for a range of other effects, which we'll mention as well. Pivot tables usually frightens people, but in fact, this can reduce an immense amount of work that people do manually. So we'll just take a look at a very simple example of this. And we'll also take a look at some keyboard shortcuts. These are usually pressing 2 or 3 keys automates the process on the computer or saves you doing multiple clicks. So we'll start off with organizing email. As I said, the slides we'll put up. If they do turn out to be too small for the audience to view, we can switch to live if necessary, but the worry about live is we could lose a connection. So Outlook is your email program. So when you log on with your official GA account, it's normally the program that on the web-based system comes up first. And inside of it, you are probably deluged with emails from all sorts of people who think that you have nothing better to do with your time than read their email. And that can be from all the branches of the association, from members, or just from people who have got hold of your address and think that you're somebody who should read their particular little issue. So we'll take a look at how we might automate the process. Now, all this comes with a bit of a health warning, and we'll mention that as we go through. When you go into your email system, I'm really talking about the web-based system here, although if you do have an installed version of Outlook, this feature is available in it as well. It's just in a slightly different place. So what we have here is on the top right-hand corner of the screen. I'll just mention a couple of things. This is the cogged wheel, which has become fairly synonymous with settings. If you want to change passwords or even other settings, you can click on the word is training leadership in this particular icon and the little TA. Either of those will open a box that will allow you to look at your account and change various settings such as password and even some of the settings we're going to look at now. But I'm going to click on the cogged wheel. And when you do, a menu will open up, and down at the bottom of this menu will be View All Outlook Settings. Now, if you click on that, another menu opens up, and this is maybe familiar to you, maybe not. We'll just lay out some of the things that are here. The layout is the current one that's shown there. It's the highlighted menu at the minute. So this is where it sorts messages or don't sort the messages. There's a whole series of settings there. If you want to take a look at them, you can. But tonight we're concentrating on rules. Now, rules are a set of instructions for the computer system to deal with your email when they come in. And we'll show you how you can set it up and some advice on maybe possible ways to reduce the bulk load. So if you click on rule, immediately you get this option of add a new rule. I would say to you, if you're not familiar with rules and you find one sitting there, I would delete it if you don't know what it's doing. Now, usually they're self-explanatory, but if it's forwarding your email to some address you've never heard of, well, then it's one you want to get rid of. Now, I have none set up here. I'm assuming maybe your system's that way. If there was a rule there, you'll get the option to delete it. So if there's a whole set of rules there already, unless you know what they're doing, I would advise you to get rid of them. So we're going to click on add a new rule. When you do, 3 boxes appear. You type in some name. So type a suitable name. I've typed in, so any name you like. Don't try to be too complex. Try and make it fairly simple and easy to understand. So once you type that, you're then going to add a condition. This means that if the email meets a set of conditions you put down, then something will be done with the email. So we'll give you an example. If you click on a condition, immediately this big drop-down list appears. And it says, if the email comes from a particular person. So you could be very severe and say, if it comes from a particular person, the action is delete it. Now that would be a very severe action, but you could do that if you want, or you could decide to move it automatically into a particular folder. Basically, you're saying, I'm not reading that, or you could even set it up in such a way that it's marked as read and you never look at it. Now, I'm not suggesting you should do that. We're going to suggest maybe a better way of dealing with the bulk of email that club and county and provinces get. So I'm going to take from. So if an email comes in from a particular group of people, and the one I've chosen is communications. That's communications in Croke Park. You'll get a monthly newsletter. So we're going to decide what we're going to do with this now. So anytime an email comes in from communications in Croke Park, we're going to add an action. We're going to tell it what to do with this email. You won't have to do anything at all. This will all happen automatically the moment an email comes in from communication. So we're going to click on the action. And here's the possibilities. The first one is move to. So immediately it comes in, move it out of your inbox and put it in a box called, well, I don't know, anything you want, communications. I would be careful about using that. If you pick up your email on a device like a mobile phone, if you set up a rule to move, it moves it automatically from your inbox to another folder, possibly. And if it does, it may never appear on your phone because that's all happens automatically behind. Maybe a better way would be to leave it there and just send a copy to somewhere. So be careful about moving. That physically moves the email to another folder or wherever you decide to move it to. And copy is probably slightly safer. Delete is quite severe. And the others you can see they are marked as read, marked as junk, marked with importance, categorize, forward to, all the possibilities. So I'm going to click copy to. So the moment an email comes in from communications, I'm clicking copy to. I have to tell it where. So I have to select a folder now. Now it's already in the inbox. There's very little point copying it there. We just get 2 copies of the email. I could go to delete it, which is severe. Junk email, severe as well. New folder is probably a better one. So I'll just go back one step there. So you can choose a new folder. You could type, that's if you didn't have a folder already named. If you click on that, it'll ask you to name a folder and it'll create a new folder for you as well. Or if you have an existing folder, they would be shown there. Move to a different folder underneath that. So you choose the folder, and I'm going to put in another rule. So first thing I've done is copied it to a folder. I'll say communications. So it's putting the email in there. And it's also going to do something else. I'm going to put a second thing. I'm going to forward it to. So basically, I'm going to send this email to somebody else. Or in fact, I intend to send it to a lot of people, all the club members. So basically what's going to happen now, the email comes in from communications once a month. I'm going to put a copy in a folder called communications where I have a copy of it just, and it's going to forward it to, and I choose. Now what you're looking at is a list of what are called contact lists. I just picked a sort of a training one here, but you can see these can be quite large groups. They could be 50, 60, 100 members of the club. And every month when that email comes in, copy will be sent to communication folder and forwarded to all the people in this communications list. This list will contain whatever number of people you put in it. And that's very simple. So that means now the email comes in, instead of you having to do anything, it's automatically, you could even mark it as read if you wanted. That's another thing you could mark it to do, add another action. You could copy it into a folder to have it in communications, and it's automatically forwarded out to, I don't know, 50, 60, 100 members of your club every month. Nothing, you do nothing. It happens automatically. So we're just hoping that that simple thing there would lighten your load. Now, just be careful. You might well think that maybe one that comes in from the county secretary, you want to send that to all members of your committee. That's grand. If that's something you decide to do, that's okay. But just be careful. There's no questioning about this unless you put in an exception or something and say, well, don't send it to such and such a people. It will send it to everyone in the committee if they're in a communications or a list, a contact list for the committee. If you're sending this out, everything that comes in from communications in Grove Park will be copied to the folder and forwarded to all your members. You know, the types of things come out from communications are probably safe enough, but maybe just be a little more careful with other emails. Right, so that's just hopefully our first quick look at a method of reducing the bulk emails. You could decide to do one for, maybe it comes from the coaching and development officer in the county, and you could put a copy into a folder under coaching, and you would automatically forward it to the coaches in your club, providing it's something, of course, that's of relevance to them. Now, we'll take a look at mail merge. And many of you might be familiar with mail merge. And what we're doing is just taking a look at the outline of how to do it. And I'll give you some examples as we go through of how this might reduce your time or workload again. Right, the first thing about mail merge is it obviously comes from mailing and sending out bulk emails or bulk letters. You've often received a letter from all sorts of firms nowadays with your personalized name on the top of the letter and your address all built into it. It almost feels that somebody has in the old days sat down and typed out a letter to you, folded it very nicely, put it into an envelope and personally sent it to you. Well, sorry, it's done automatically through this system here, and there's very little personal contact in it at all. Now, it's only available on the desktop version of Word, if we take it. So we'll talk about Word. It's only available, not on the web version. The GAA supplies every club officer that is listed out of the, I think it's 6 or 7 accounts they get. But this will not be on the web version that's available. It'll be an installed version you may well have on your own computer at home. It can be used for the following. You can see them there. I'm not going to read through text to you, probably too much text on this slide. Produce a large number of letters that are individual in terms of name, address, other selected data. Some people take data out of the membership system, print it out on sheets and hand it out to people and say, there's what's on the system. You know, is that okay? That's your own personal one. You could have labels for all the clubs or contributors to some scheme that you have, or all the members. You could do labels through it. You could have individual emails sent to a large number of recipients. That could be a small group of your club, might be everybody in the club. Or you could even decide to print tickets with individual names or numbers, tickets for some type of event. Now, obviously, the printing here requires a fairly decent printer because you're going into bulk emailing and you could have quite large numbers. So you need to think about the time. It can be very useful, but if it goes wrong, you could very quickly have 100 or 200 letters that you discovered a serious typing error and just about as you send them out. So just check very carefully before you go. You require the following to do this anyway. A data source. Now, don't worry about the language. That basically means a table in Word, which is columns and rows, an Excel spreadsheet, Outlook contacts, or it could be an Access database. Probably I think if anybody's using an Access database, they probably are very well aware how to do this in a number of ways. So I'll stick to Word and Excel, which are the more common ones. We need a template letter, sort of a standard letter that we're going to put the data into. So the standard letter, we'll take a look at one in a moment. Advantages of emailing. Well, it relieves tedious, repetitive tasks. It doesn't solve the problem of folding the letters and putting them into envelopes. Or if you use large envelopes, I think the postage can be rather expensive. So you are sort of talking here about if you're posting it, but it could well be letters that you hand out personally, or maybe club members go around houses and deliver them and thank people for their support of the lotto, the draw, or the memberships coming up. It's just another way of delivering something personal. Each person gets a letter addressed to themselves. The use of window envelopes or printing addresses directly onto the envelopes avoids the use of labels. Sticking labels on is grand, but then you have to match the label to the name on the letter. That can go wrong, possibly. Everybody gets the wrong letter. That's not funny. Now, if required, letters can have a minor individual edits, so everybody has a standard letter, but you could tweak a couple of them here or there if you wanted. You have 100 letters to go. You could go through them and make just some minor changes to one or two of them. Club updates, club county draw, notification of meetings. There are many ways of doing this, and printed documents are not quite as popular as they would have been. Existing Excel spreadsheets and Word tables can be utilized as data sources. So if you have an Excel spreadsheet with something like forename, surname, address 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be perfect for sending out this type of thing here. So we're going to take a look at a data source. Well, first of all, these are made up. Don't worry, there's no GDPR here. And don't go looking for Mary O'Neill at that address. She doesn't exist. Now, so each of the columns in this, columns are the vertical ones, rows are horizontal. Each of the columns are what we call a field. Not the type of field I'm normally used to, but they're called fields, data fields. So I've got 5 of them here: forename, surname, address 1, address 2, address 3. You could have postcode, area code, whatever you want after, it doesn't matter. Now, each row is a record. So each person has a separate row. So that's just the language I'm going to use. I'll be talking about rows and columns. I'll be talking about data fields. They're vertical. Rows are records. Right, so there's a classic one. That's a Word document. And it has some addresses, and you can tell by the names they're not really proper names or anything. But we've put in some addresses, and you can see them sitting here, and that's a column of surname, forename, address 1, address 2, address 3, postcode. You can put in as many columns as you want, use as many of them as you want, or as few of them as you want. So that's sitting in Word as a table. So you might have that sitting there already. The first row is always the headings. They're the titles on the fields. And if you don't have that, you will run into trouble with this system. So you must have those headings across the fields. Right, if it's a spreadsheet, well, it's the same spreadsheet. It's just rows and columns, same thing. But it's just some people prefer to work with Word, others prefer to work with spreadsheet. Same thing. Rows are, the first row is the fields, and each row after it's the records. I won't spend much time talking about this. This would be Outlook contact system. It can be used, but I think it's less popular, so I won't spend much time on it. But it's just another way of collecting the data as well. And you could go to a mail merge with it directly. Right, so we'll take a standard letter. This is just typed up in Word. I've got a space here where I intend to put the address. You can see it in the blue outline or dots. Dear, I haven't put in a name. That's going to come in automatically. Thank you for volunteering to attend Office 365 training. The workshop will start at 7:30 and will last 2 hours. Be glad to know this won't tonight. Please make sure you have your login details of your @GA account, Ishmisha, and County Development Officer or County Training and Planning Officer would be now. Okay, so that's my basic letter typed up. And what I'm going to do is get the data from a Word table, an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to put them into these letters automatically. We'll just go through the process. So there's the bits that are missing. I haven't got an address. I haven't got a dear. I'd normally put in the forename there. So that's the letter ready. No data in it. And I click on mailings. Now this is the installed version of Word. You click on mailings, a menu will drop down like that, the one you can see at the bottom. And on it you have envelopes, labels, start mail merge. So we'll normally start mail merge. You could print envelopes or labels straight away from this, but we'll go to mail merge. This will be down here, third icon across. So click on Start Mail Merge. Now, as with all things in Microsoft, there are numerous ways of doing this. I'm taking a way that's probably the most intuitive, I think, but once you get used to it, you may discover there are shorter ways of doing some of these things. Right, so when you click on Start Mail Merge, you get options. Do you want to do a letter, an email message? If you're going to send an email message, you do need an email address in a column. So you need a column with all the email addresses. You could print directly onto envelopes, print directly onto labels, and we'll just leave it at that. That's the ones we'll be looking at tonight. But the button we want to press is step-by-step mail merge. And this allows me to step forward and backwards till I get the thing right. So we'll click on step-by-step. And you're now going to be guided through it. So you've confirmed the document type or label format, and we'll go through each of the steps here now. These are the steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 steps, but the system actually is going to guide you through these steps. Right, so the first thing, select the type of document. So I've taken letter. I then click on next, and each of the steps you have to click on next. Next one is they want to know, am I going to use the current document? That's one that's open on the computer. Or am I going to start from existing document, which means slightly different. You have a document that's saved somewhere on the computer, or from a template. Most people would use the current document. It's open already. So select that. And then click next. So each time you select the option and then click next. So that's 2 out of the 6 done. Next one, mail merge. I have 3 options. Use an existing list. I have one, it's on Word or Excel. I could select Outlook contacts, but I'm going to stick, as I said, to the first 2. Or I could type in a new list. That would be tedious for the 100 members. I would hope they're being got somewhere. You could export this out of the foreign system, or you might have an old spreadsheet ready, sitting with contact details in it. Or you can browse through the computer to find where this list is. You have to select it anyway, and click on Browse to tell the computer where to find this list. And then, of course, like all things, we click and we get a menu opening up, a dialog box, which is now looking to know where is this file saved. So it could be your own documents, it could be in OneDrive, hopefully they're secure, or it could be on a USB pen, wherever it is, you select it out of the directory. It's fairly typically stuff used in Windows that you select where the file is. So my file is down data for mail merge, okay? And then I click open. and it then opens up like this and confirms that it's got the table. And it's also the first row contains the column headers. That's the things we call the labels for the field. That's very important you have that. Click OK. And then it opens up. It gives us a little shot of the data. In fact, it gives us all the data if we want to look at it. Now, we're not going to go into detail in this at the moment, but you could sort them by alphabetical order of surname or forename or address, or filter out all those who are, maybe all those who are male or female or players, but you would need a column somewhere in your data so that the computer will know who is a player and their gender or whatever you're choosing there. Find duplicates. Well, that's a good thing. That means you don't want to send 2 letters. That's a good thing to click as well. It would get the duplicates and you could untick one of them and therefore only send 1 letter or 1 piece of information. So we select them, but generally most people select the whole lot, I suppose. And we click OK. So stage 3 is selecting the data and just confirming that's the data you want to use. Right, so when you've done all that, you click Next. So now we've 3 steps done. That's the longest step of all, that one. Now, mail merge. We're coming now to say which bits of the data do you want to put into the letter and where do you want to put them. So we're going to click on More Items. When you click on More Items, the following will open up. This shows the headings, the fields. Got surname, forename, address 1, address 2, address 3, and postcode. That's the pieces of data I can put into my letter, because that's the ones that are sitting in my database, Word, table, or Excel spreadsheet. Right, so we're just saying that's the panel, shows what the fields you have. If there's something missing there, well, then maybe you selected the wrong database. You might have to go back a step, which we can always do. Anytime here, we can go back. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. These fields can be inserted anywhere into the letter. Now, there's one little quirk in this, and I'll just point it out. If you click Insert, it'll put forename wherever the cursor is sitting in the letter behind. And if you think you're going to put a space in and you press the space bar, it'll simply put the same one back in again. So don't do that. Just put them exactly where you want them. So we'll take a look at this. So there's the merge field. Click on the field required. I'm going to select forename. And I'm going to insert. And you can see it's inserted it. Anywhere it's put in a field, you'll get these double sort of bracket type affairs. They're the less than and greater than sign, but you get this double thing, and that's what we call a merge field. So that means now it's dear, and it's going to go to the database and get the forename of whoever is in your database. Eventually, you add them all simply by inserting them into wherever you want them. So I've arranged it now. It reads forename, space, surname, address 1, address 2, address 3, postcode, and then I've got dear forename. Now you could have bits of data inserted inside the letter. Thank you for volunteering, Sean, Sinead, Maya, whatever it is, and you could have that built into the letter as well. I've just put them out where it's easier to see at the moment. So I've got the letter ready. Bear in mind this letter could be used every year maybe, so it's not, this might be a one-off process that you send out on an annual basis. All the insert fields are shown there. And we now do the following. Next stage, we're going to click Next. After every stage, you click Next. So this is step 4. And then it shows you what it looks like. So the first record was Joe Doe, and he lives at Canal Street, Newry. And dear Joe, and you can see the letters. So let's give you a look at it. You might discover that you've got the forename second or something. Well, just go back and then change that, insert it in, and take the other one out. You can take merge fields out the same as text. Just highlight them, delete them. right? So the preview's there. If you're happy with that, really you're saying that maybe the other 100 letters are exactly the same, except the details of the name, the address, and the forename are all going to be different, obviously. So click on mailings, and you can go ahead then. There's your letters ready to go. Now, I have two options here. I can click on finish and merge. Really interesting what you can do here. Now, if you do that, there are three possibilities. You could edit individual letters. So there's somebody sitting in the system, you just want to change some detail of the address or something. You could print the documents, print the lot, all the letters, how many there are, or you could send email messages. So in other words, this would become an email sent to everybody who has an email address in the database. But we're going to go to the letters anyway first. But you see the three options there. And individual edits are allowed. Print documents prints the whole lot. 200, 100, whatever number you have. Send email sends it to everybody as a separate email. So this is quite interesting because this is not a bulk email where 200 emails have been sent out as one, and some systems block that type of email. This is quite literally starting to batch the emails out individually, one after the other. It only takes minutes to do hundreds, but it's actually sending them as individual emails to each person, individually edited to their own private email address if you have that in. Right, so that gives you an idea. That might save you time. It takes a bit of time to set it up the first time. Labels are set up exactly the same way. Some people set up tickets, print them out with the number on them, and if you lose them, print another one or whatever. It's another way of saving you a lot of time and effort, maybe if you have particularly big numbers involved. Now, pivot table is one that normally would frighten people. It's called an advanced feature of Excel. It's only available once again on the installed version of Excel. It's not available on the web version, but an awful lot of people actually do have Excel and Word installed on their own computers. So that's the reason we're mentioning this. So we're going to take a look at an example where a pivot table could save you a lot of time and effort. Right, it's an advanced feature, I said that before. So in our example, members are ordering kit for their children. Could be quite significant numbers. I've chosen to take 300. Now, before you're panicking here, the names have been taken from an anonymous database and they're all alphabetical order. So Abigail Anderson and such thing will come, and I don't know how far down the list it goes, but the last girl would be Zoe Zebra or something. So the names are a bit artificial, but it has to be that way. We can't put real names of people up under GDPR. Right. So we have the name of the child, the forename, surname, and the kit size. Now, we could have more. I probably thought this evening when I had it ready, I should have put gender, and then I could have sorted out girls from boys. I could have had size of hurley, command, ball, football, whatever has been ordered. It could be adults and it could be different things. We'll show you what you can do now. Dummy data, 300 children, and there's what it looks like. So Aaron Allen, Aaron Armstrong, all these are names, and you can see the kit size. So there are genuinely 300 lines in this. You might think you can see 301, and you're right, but the top row is not counted because it's the one with the names of the fields, which is forename, surname, and kit size. Fairly standard sort of thing, this. So this information has been gathered up. It could have been from a Microsoft form. You sent out an order, you had to put in your name, and you had to put in your kit size from a drop-down list. It would automatically fill a spreadsheet for you. So there's no typing involved here. People just fill in the Microsoft form, which is part of the package given to you by the GA. You send out the form, you're asking for the kit order, 3 pieces of information, You're up there, but you could ask for more information. You could get email addresses if you wanted. You could get gender if you wanted, but I just kept it fairly simple so as we could show it on screen. Right, so counting the order, 300, that's fairly tedious stuff. Now I have known some poor soul to go down with a pen and start counting the number of under sevens in the list or whatever, or maybe a more sophisticated way would be to sort them in order of size, but you still have to go down and maybe count them, or it's involved a certain amount of calculation. Here's an alternative method. Highlight all of the data. And the way to do that is press Control, Shift and Star. That's 3 keys on the keyboard. Control and Shift are on the left-hand side. Star is above the number 8. So click in a cell anywhere and press that. That's one of these things we call a shortcut. I'll talk more about them later. Then click on Insert. It's one of the main menus. I'm going to show you this in a moment anyway. And then click on Pivot Table. There's the pivot table. So you click on Insert and then click on Pivot Table. So you highlight all the data first and then Insert and Pivot Table. Once you do that, this little box will come up. I suppose I could lie and say I've never read this. I probably have. Most people never read that. They just click OK. And that's what appears. Now, I'm showing my age very distinctly here, but I prefer to do the thing in a particular way. There are other ways of doing this, but I'm going to show you what I think is a simple method of dealing with this now. On the left-hand side is what we call the pivot table. On the right-hand side are the fields, the forename, the surname, and the kit size. And what I have to do is drag over the ones I want from the right over to the left. You literally drag them over. But to allow you to do that, you need to do 2 things. If I take a look at the pivot table on the left, and anywhere inside it, I right-click with the mouse. When you do that, you get a little dialog box coming up. And the one I want to select here is Pivot Table Options. And when you click on it, you get this menu. So this is the most complicated bit of this process. And the one I want to select is Classic Pivot Table Outlook. It's really the old version, but you know, I click it anyway. So that's the one there. It's Classic Pivot Table Layout. So click on the Display tab. It comes up and click Classic Pivot Table. Right, now click OK. Now the easy bit. The display changes slightly there. The pivot table now is a different look. Now what I do is simply drag over anything I want into these boxes. The 2 boxes are row and column. So I'm going to drag over kit size. That's that one there, literally with the mouse, catch hold of it and drag it over to there, which is on from the right over to the left. When you do that, all the kit sizes appear, all the ones that have been ordered. If there's kit sizes nobody ordered, well, they won't appear. Now, next thing, I want to know how many of each. This is the weird bit. I drag kit size again over into the first column. When I do, bang, it adds it all up, tells me the number of each size I need, 300 in total. I'm glad of that, there's 300 records. And there's each size you require. You go to your local store, supplier, whoever you get your kit from, and that's the number you need to order of each type. Of course, if you're like our club, you probably need to order a couple more for those who never put in an order on time. But I suppose that's no computer system can deal with that bit. So we're keeping fairly well to time. So that's hopefully something you might want to use. It just would save a lot of time and effort. And if the club gets bigger than 300, I would suggest a pivot table becomes ever more useful. Right, trying to finish out for the 45 minutes. These are keyboard shortcuts. Everybody has some favorites. They are methods simply of pressing 2 or 3 keys, which saves you maybe 5 or 6 clicks. Some of them you'll be very familiar with. Some of them you may never have heard of. Personally, some of these I use, others I have never used at all, but they might be useful. So we'll take a look. On a modern computer, Windows computer I'm talking about here opposite, there's a key that has, it's on the bottom left-hand side. It's the second key in from the left, and it's the Windows key. It has that 4 sections. It's the Windows symbol. So these are called Win key shortcuts. The first one's sort of doubly useful. So you press down that key. It's on my keyboard. It's got white, but it can be slightly different. You press it and the letter P together. When you do that, you will get a number of options displayed on the screen. Typically, somebody arrives at the club some night to do a presentation. The projector was working perfectly with your laptop. They plug in their laptop, and there's absolutely, you can see it on the screen, but nothing on the laptop. This will allow you to select 4 options, really. One of them is the laptop only. In other words, not the projector. The next will be display the laptop and the projector. The next one will be only the projector, and the third one wouldn't be particularly useful there. It's extended, but this is if you have 2 screens. You can drag programs from one screen over onto the other. So that's how you get that. Just the Windows key and P is a quick way of getting that, and sometimes it sorts out that nightmare where the person who has arrived just can't get the image on the projector. The next one has become very popular recently. You want to copy something from the internet or something off a screen. In fact, you're quite literally looking at an image I copied from the screen. And what you do is press that Windows key again. That's that 4 section thing. And you press 2 other keys at the same time with it. So you press Windows and Shift, which are diagonally opposite each other, and the letter S. And it gives you a little tool that you just draw around the screen to copy anything on the screen that you have. So it copies images or text, right? Now it just copies them as an image. You need to know that. So that's 2 that are sort of useful, and I personally do use both of them. These are probably the best known shortcuts. Control C, you highlight anything on the screen and press Control C, it's copied. It's quite good for copying text even from the internet, but some people will have their internet content protected. So despite the fact that you think you're copying it, you'll discover you're not. But a lot of stuff is not. And you can copy other documents, spreadsheets, and it copies the data as well. It copies it as raw data, okay? Control V, that allows you to go to some other page in Word and just paste it in. So they're very familiar known ones. I think they're probably the best known of all. So it's Control plus V and Control plus C. Navigation shortcuts. Well, some people just prefer these type of things. If you have a number of applications on, I have now on tonight, I'm talking to you through a PowerPoint display. I've also got obviously Teams on. If I press Alt-Tab, it'll switch what I have on the screen immediately from one to the other. Press again, and it goes round through the various applications. Windows D, that's that Windows key again, and D, that will show or hide the desktop, which is really the bottom layer on your computer. If you want to bring it right up to the top, Windows and D. I personally don't use either of those very much, but some people are very fond of them. To use this one though, Windows and the left arrow. The arrow keys are over under on the right-hand side of the keyboard. Windows and left will allow you to push, say, a spreadsheet to the left-hand side. Windows and right will push it over to the right-hand side. So you could be looking at 2 documents. It just sort of shunts one either to the left or the right, depending which arrow key you choose. Opening and closing applications. Alt and F4 closes the current app. I wouldn't want to do that. It would shut down PowerPoint for me. If you want Windows Explorer, that's the Windows key again. At E, that launches where the files are, File Explorer. Other shortcuts, Control A selects all. So your Word document and press Control A, it selects the whole document. F5, I think it's my favorite, this one. If the internet's going slow on you, just press F5. It refreshes the browser or forces File Explorer to refresh or take a look again. So if things are going badly, F5 is a way of forcing it to refresh itself. If you're leaving your computer and you don't want your data available to somebody else, just press Windows, that's that key again, and L, it locks your computer, so somebody can't get in unless they have the password. Control and P is print. We're glad to know we're cruising in for the last one now, number 10. Shift and delete, very dangerous one, this permanently deletes a file. No, it doesn't go in the recycle bin. No, you can't get it back again without extreme bother. That'll permanently delete a file. Not what I suggest using too often unless you really do want to get rid of the file. Changing font sizes and case of text. Sometimes we get this, we get a document that's all in the wrong font or wrong size. You can do two things. If you press 3 keys, Control, Shift, and the greater than arrow, or key, that will increase the font size. If you press it twice, it'll increase it more, 3 times more. And I will demonstrate that to you in a moment when I come out of PowerPoint. I can use it in PowerPoint as well. If you go the other way, Control, Shift, and less than, that will make the font smaller. So if you're trying to make something fit a page, type it, highlight it, and then just press Control, Shift, and greater than till it fills whatever space you want. I'll demonstrate that when I get out of PowerPoint. Sometimes you get the text is in the wrong case. All you do is highlight it and press Shift and F3. The first time, if it's all in lowercase, it'll go to what's called mixed case. Usually it only puts the first letter of the first word in a sentence as capitalized. And if you press F3 again, it'll make the whole lot uppercase. If you press F3 again, it'll go back and make the whole lot lowercase. Sometimes useful, sometimes saves a lot of effort. And these are maybe Excel people. Those who are heavy Excel users probably know these. If you want to select from the top of the worksheet down to the very bottom, Control, Shift, and arrow to the right-hand side. If you want to go to the last cell on the left, Control, Shift, to the left, obviously. If you want to go to the last cell up from the bottom, Control, Shift, and up. If you want to go from the top down, it's Control, Shift, and down. So quick for some of them useful, some of them are not. Everybody has a particular one they like, but maybe someone happens to intrigue you tonight. And that brings us to the end, hopefully fairly close to time. And I'll hand back now to Aaron. And Michelle.
Thanks a million, Gerard. So, folks, if you have any questions or anything like that, I don't see anything in the chat so far.
There's
sorry.
There's one question. Yeah, there's just one question. Maybe Lena, if you want to come off mute just to explain your question. It's about mail merge. Not sure if Lena is still here.
Did she type the question in?
Yeah,
Michelle?
it's just, it's can you attach individual documents to mail merge emails? But maybe I'm wondering, are we interpreting the question correctly?
Yeah, well, I suppose out of a mail
multiple individual documents, perhaps.
Well, I suppose yes and no is the answer to that.
Yeah.
If I put in a letter, that becomes the standard letter for everybody. And then I mail merge the data such as the name, the address, the age, the gender, the amount of money you've paid into the scheme, whatever you want to put into the letter. So it's an individual letter going out from that point of view, but it's a standard letter. But you equally well could have 6 standard letters and merge different data or the same data into each letter. filtered on the basis those who paid £100 get one letter, those who pay €500 get another letter, and those who pay €1,000 get a different letter. But you would filter that, and that would have to have a field in it. So it's a sort of a half answer that in some ways the letter they get looks individual, but it is part of a template letter with data put into it. But you could use the same data for different letters. I'm not sure that I'm answering the question.
Okay. That's the only question we have.
People are probably numbed after that, I would say. Hopefully they get something out of it. I can demonstrate a couple of the smaller features of that. If you want those shortcuts, some of them are interesting or curious. If we have, I suppose, 7 minutes to play with here to keep to the hour.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do that, Aaron, or do we want to let people escape?
I don't mind you. Yeah, if we have 7 minutes to spare, so if you want to go to do 2 or 3 of them, if people want to stay on, that's no worries at all.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll open a screen here. I'll open Word and just take the standard sort of document. Yes, I see somebody's asking something now about OneDrive. Now, we do have material and we could go to OneDrive if you want. Would that be more useful than doing something in Word?
Yeah, if you want to do maybe a few minutes of OneDrive there, Ger.
Right. What I'll do is I'll take a web version of OneDrive.
Yeah.
And I'll quite literally show people putting files up. I'm going to now try and pick up the web version. I'm now really chancing my arm going live for this, Benoit. You measured the web speed here in kilobits. You don't go megabits here now. Right. So I'm going to take a look at OneDrive. Right, in a presenting mode here for an email account. It's the one we've been looking at early on. This would be one that every club officer who has an account would have available to them. Most people think it's just an email system. To some extent, it's a very good one, but it has an awful lot more available. So we're just going to take a look at this package here. This 9 buttons in the top left-hand corner is called the App Launcher, but better known, I think, in the IT industry as the waffle. Anyway, Microsoft certainly call it that. Right, so we'll click on the App Launcher, and you get a list of commonly used applications, and OneDrive is certainly going to appear in the list. If your application that you want to use doesn't appear, you would click All Apps, and you get then a big long list, many of which most of us have notional ideas what they do, but we never use. So we'll go back to this list anyway. OneDrive will appear. So I'll click on OneDrive. I'm going to have to choose which account here. Right. Okay, so if you go in and find there are files there, it may mean that the previous officer has actually put files in OneDrive. What is OneDrive? It's cloud storage. It's ultra secure in terms that it's backed up numerous times across the world. You are protected from viruses. You are never going to lose your file unless you deliberately delete it, and even then it can be restored over a period of time as well, or within a period of time, sorry. Equally well, you can access the file from any device that you can log on to the internet with using your username and password for your account. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to upload a file. Now, I can't upload a very large file here because of the internet speed issue. So I click and I want to upload a file. If there was nothing there, Well, you would simply go here, start and put in a folder. Or you could start a Word document and create one and save it there. Bit tedious, but you could. Excel, PowerPoint, the same, or Forms. Right, so we'll assume there's one there. We see there's a number there, new folder. But just for tonight, I'll create another new folder. So a new folder, and we'll call it February 2021. Give it any name you want and click create. The folder appears there, and again, it's telling me a few seconds ago create. So what I want to do now in a moment, I want to put some files into that folder. So I click on the folder, and of course there's nothing in it, just created it. And I'm going to upload a file. So click on file, and I want to pick a document, and I'll pick the lotto winners from my club this week, okay? And it uploads the file. Now you can see if you have high-speed internet up in the top right-hand corner, that will be uploaded instantly. Well, it didn't do too bad tonight, okay? So I have it. So the file's there. So I can put my files there. Why would you do this? Well, 3 reasons. Security and safety, you'll not lose them. We'll not switch on the computer someday and the computer's crashed and the history of the club and everything else is gone. Or the USB pen gives the screen a blue death and nothing can be retrieved from it. Or you lose the USB pen. That's one reason, security. Second reason is files nowadays are quite large. You could have photographs here. Now, if you had a photograph or something and you want to share it, sometimes by email, that can be quite a demand on your email system. You're sending it out and the files are very large. Well, if I upload it here, which is going to take a bit of time, I can then share it with people and I don't have to send a big email. I just send a link. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a link in a moment to my colleague, Michelle. But we'll show you how we do it. So here we have the file, the lottery results for this week. This could be the whole club I'm sending this to. I think it's put up, it is put up on Facebook and media platforms. So I just click here and I could have put up 10, 15, 20 files. As soon as I click, you'll notice a little button appears here, share. I'm now going to share it with some people. So I click share. And immediately it's looking to know who. Now, here are the possibilities. Anyone with a link, quite literally anybody who gets a link. It could be put on the website, anybody who clicks on it, they get it. It could be people in the GAA, so people who have an @GAA account who have the link. So that's 2 things. Or it could be people who have existing access to maybe the folder or people I've already given files access to. Or it could just specify a particular person. Now, I'll use that one to specify a particular people, although I'm going to use an @GA address. Now, there's 2 more controls. That specific person. I'm going to allow them to edit it. Don't think that's a good idea. I don't want the lottery results going out. I can stop them downloading it as well. They can read it, view it, but they can't download it onto their computer and maybe edit it. So we'll apply that, specific people. And now they want who. Right, so Michelle carries a number of posts. I'll use a previous one. So really what I'm doing now is I'm sending it to Michelle and I can do it in 2 ways. I could send an email to her and have a message here and click send, or I could do the following, click copy. I've copied it. Now, actually, the only person who can open that link are people I specify. So I've clicked copy and I'll quickly hop over to an email. Now, this is a course in itself, as somebody's saying. We're just spending 2 minutes to show you the basics of it. Going here now, I'm going to click. I'm going to take Outlook. And instead of a big file that would take ages and ages to send with an email, particularly if you have my type of email, and I click new message and type in Lotto. I can type in an email address whoever I want to send to. The only person who could really send this to is actually the IT officer in Galway. Press Control V, and it's now put in the file, and there is the file there. Now that actually isn't the file, that's a link to the file. So this email is very small, will be transmitted very, very quickly, and it's just one of the features of it. Now the great thing is I can withdraw that access next week and put up a new file, or I could replace that file with another file, next week's Lotto results, I suppose, and we could do that. So that's a very quick, and I have to be maybe almost too short, but I see Aaron's telling us if there's a big enough demand, we certainly will organise something on a more formal basis for OneDrive. So at that point, I'll just come back out, trying to keep people within the hour. No point saving people's time and then use all their evening. I'm back offline now, Aaron, I hope.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks a million for that, Ger. So yeah, I see a few people look at OneDrive and all that stuff, 100%. So I'm taking note of that, and we'll bring it. I have a few things in my files on Office 365 and a little bit of that, but nothing solely on OneDrive. So we'll have a look at that, and I can see there's a huge demand for that coming just especially into the chat. So no worries, we'll definitely have a look at that for the very near future, and we'll communicate that through our various channels and through all the counties as well.
We have a previous one as well, Aaron. I think we combined it with a short bit on forms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. That could be before my time.
It probably was, actually.
We'll dig a few stuff out that we have, and we'll forward that out anyway, and then we'll pen together a new course on it anyway.
Right. Well, Michelle and myself are here if anyone wants to ask a question, or do you want to wrap up then, Aaron?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so I see things coming in. So slides and all, they can be sent out. They'll be sent out tomorrow. They'll be sent out tomorrow morning along with the recording as well. So folks, I'd like to thank both Gerard and Michelle for this evening. A very, very useful presentation on some of the bits that they cover. So good a million mahagav to Gerard and Michelle. And again, folks, thanks a million for your support during the year to all our participants for the Club Leadership Development Programme, and see you again. So good a million mahagav, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, Aaron,
Thanks,
just
all.
save them down as PDFs, Aaron. There'll be a smaller file if you're.
Yeah, we'll do. Perfect.
Thanks a million.
Right,
No,
thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we kept close enough to the time, Aaron, anyway.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's gone 5 past.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be going football training and look out the window. I was like, no, it's lashing rain. I'm going to stay here.
That's a fair weather player now.
A proper junior footballer, they call me.
You're training early for junior football.
Oh, stop. They had us running and all last week. The Cheegan, not a football in sight.
All right.
Under false pretenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, that was very good, guys. Thanks a million.
In fairness to Gerard, now he did all the work, so I just want to say
Michelle,
huge
fair play
thanks
to
to Gerard.
But the big problem with the presentation, when I'm doing that, I have absolutely no idea what's going on in the background.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if you go live, you can.
Yeah.
I just decided to push a bit on OneDrive. If there is an interest, we have the stuff ready.
Yeah. And